In a ridiculous turn of events with this CM Punk fiasco coming out of All Out, now multiple sources are saying Larry the Dog wasn't really injured in the melee that happened after the post-show media scrum. What the hell is going on? Also, MJF does not want to turn babyface. I got the news on that. Very interesting situation as far as creative is concerned for Austin Theory, what WWE may be thinking about Austin Theory cashing in the Money in the Bank briefcase and WWE's schedule going into the holiday season. I got it all for you right here on Off the Script.
Why has Triple H been so successful? Why is Triple H running WWE better than Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard on Monday and Friday night? Long-term booking.
What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me right here on Off the Script. I got a little bit of extra for you. It is October 27th, 2022. I am JD from New York, as always, coming to you from the OTS venue. Thank you guys so very much for joining me on this happy hour, your Thursday, wherever you may be. Follow me on social media at JdfromNY206. That's Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Cameo. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for all notifications. I need you to hit that thumbs up. That's very important. Hit that thumbs up, 1,000 likes minimum on today's OTS Extra. And if you missed any of the content, including last night's great AEW Dynamite post show, make sure you guys go check that out and all the other content out on the homepage. Let's start at the top, man. WWE's holiday schedule has been released. Normally, this is the slowest time of the year. Normally, WWE doesn't ramp up, build. Maybe Triple H does something a little bit different. Vince didn't really start any build for the Royal Rumble until maybe a week before the Royal Rumble. But it's typically a time where WWE puts on lackluster shows. They do the holiday show, cringy shit, and none of the shows really have any importance whatsoever. They're not live. But WWE has released their holiday schedule according to PW Insider. The current plan is as follows. WWE will air live episodes of Friday Night SmackDown every week except for December 23rd. WWE will air a live episode the week before and then tape the 12/23 episode after the live edition in Chicago from the Allstate Arena. I have within good standing to tell you guys that Jesse may be at the show holding up a Sami Zayn sign, and he wants to be a part of the Bloodline. He wants to be the second honorary Uce. You didn't hear it from me. For NXT, WWE will air live episodes on December 8 and 12. On December 14, WWE will tape the December 20 and 27 episodes from the Performance Center before resuming live episodes on January 6th, which I assume will be their New Year's Evil show. They've been doing that gimmick show for the last couple of years. It's still unclear what WWE is going to do for Raw on December 26th, because that's right after Christmas. But the Raw brand does have what is being advertised as a live event in Columbus, Ohio at the Nationwide Arena. And then that night, WWE will hold a live event from Madison Square Garden for SmackDown. Now, WWE does have a Raw event the week before in Des Moines, Iowa at the Wells Fargo Arena. So WWE may tape that episode of Raw on December 26th, the week before. Get ready for a slew of tape shows, folks. It's going to be a very long winter. So we won't really pick up the excitement for WWE, and I'm not going to lump AEW into that because they got Winter is Coming in December, and they will be live, and I don't think they'll be, unless they're preempted for NBA, I don't know. But normally WWE around this time of the year is very slow. It's very lackluster. They're not live. You feel it. You sense it. You don't get an overwhelming sense of importance for these shows. But like I said, maybe Triple H does something a little bit different for the Royal Rumble, and I'm very excited to see what Triple H does as he builds towards the Royal Rumble, which I am super, super excited about. Speaking of Sami Zayn, I mentioned Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn and the original idea behind his alliance with the Bloodline So this was coming out of an interview, I believe, Sami Zayn did. Many fans would say that the best storyline in WWE right now is Sami Zayn's alliance with the Bloodline, Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman, the Usos, Solo Sikoa on Friday Night SmackDown. There's been tension between Jey Uso and Sami Zayn. Everybody else in the Bloodline seems to enjoy Sami Zayn being there. Even Roman Reigns made him officially, himself, the honorary Us of the Bloodline. Now, while speaking with Mirror Sport, the angle has evolved into what WWE had original plans for, completely different from what their original plans were. So this was coming out of this podcast, or this Mirror Sports dirt sheet, I guess. And they say this, it wasn't supposed to be long-term. This was one of the more filled out long-term stories I've ever been a part of. And it's long even by WWE standards. Usually we might do 2 or 3 month stories, but I've been aligned with the Bloodline in some respects since April. And we still are only kind of scratching the surface as to what's going on and what's going to happen and where Sami Zayn is going to go, he says. The initial idea was to just have some on-screen interactions every now and again because it made sense as the self-proclaimed locker room leader. I should have a good rapport with the head of the table. So we were kind of cooking up that idea. Now, there's been speculation about WWE's booking with Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns at Elimination Chamber in February 2023, which will be in Sami Zayn's hometown of Montreal, Canada. Zayn talked about fans pitching various ideas for the storyline. He says he's past trying to predict what WWE has planned for him. He says, and I quote, "I'm past the point of trying to predict what the end game is, but I think at this point, we have such a level of investment that whatever happens, I think fans are going to just be there and be along for the ride. It's been really a lot of fun, and seeing how much the fans have been loving it, it has been really rewarding," end quote. Sami Zayn even went on record to say the night that Roman Reigns made him an honorary Us was one of the best career moments of his entire life. So that is incredible. That is special. And Sami Zayn has been transformed into one of the most must-see on-screen characters in all of pro wrestling, not even WWE. You may be bored, and I know I am. You're getting a little stale of the Roman Reigns title run. I get it. But don't take away from the unbelievable performances of Sami Zayn and the Usos, and even Solo Sikoa has come into his own. He's been on the main roster since Clash of the Castle. He feels like he's been there for years. He just fits. It's great. So I'm wondering what is going on with the Elimination Chamber. This is why, and I have people telling me, oh, well, the Elimination Chamber should be eliminated with the rest of the gimmick pay-per-views, man. Why? I said this time and time and time again. The Elimination Chamber is the only gimmick pay-per-view that actually serves a purpose, and the only gimmick pay-per-view that could be important in WWE, as it fits perfectly between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, where one brand wins the Royal Rumble, the other brand wins the Elimination Chamber to do the championship matches at WrestleMania. Now, this year's a little different because Roman's holding both championships, so it's going to be interesting to see what they do as far as who is wrestling Roman at WrestleMania if they don't get The Rock, or if Roman's going to drop one of the titles, or if he's going to wrestle 2 times at WrestleMania, both on Saturday and Sunday. I don't know. But if Sami Zayn is in the Elimination Chamber vying for a World Championship match, and he's in there with one of the other members of the Bloodline, and it's Solo or Jey Uso, or if it's just Sami Zayn by himself, you know, Sami Zayn is not going to win the Elimination Chamber. He may have to lie down for somebody else so that he himself isn't a part of the Bloodline winning the Elimination Chamber or a championship match to go and get Roman Reigns and a title shot against Roman Reigns. It's going to be very interesting. I think using the Elimination Chamber, especially in Montreal, my God, that would be fucking incredible. The scene around that, it's giving me chills already just even thinking about Sami Zayn potentially that being the moment that Sami Zayn is exiled from the Bloodline. They ask him to do something that is going to pull at his heartstrings. He wants to do it, but he doesn't want to do it. This is the biggest moment of his career, and he wants to stay with the Bloodline. What do I do? What do I do? Maybe it involves Kevin Owens. Maybe it involves Kevin Owens. I have no idea what WWE's got planned. Neither does Sami Zayn, but it's very interesting to think about. So I'm going to leave the comment section open to you guys. What do you think Sami Zayn could potentially be doing at the Elimination Chamber? Do you see him a part of the Chamber match in his hometown of Montreal? Do you see that being the final nail in the coffin for Sami Zayn's run in the Bloodline. And what I love about this storyline is that nobody knows where it's going to go. You know what's coming. You don't know when it's coming. And when it does, you know because of the performances that we've been given and how over Sami Zayn is, the heartstrings that are going to be pulled on, it's going to be incredible. It's going to elevate the Bloodline as absolutely disgusting and evil and vile. And Sami Zayn, babyface, forget about it. He's going to be the biggest babyface in all of pro wrestling. Speaking of championship matches, we got Austin Theory. Austin Theory is holding this Money in the Bank contract. Never should have won the thing in the first place, but this was a Vince McMahon call. It was ridiculous when it happened. I still don't agree with it. Despite not being advertised for the match beforehand, Austin Theory won the Money in the Bank back in July and has been carrying around the briefcase ever since. Fans have been speculating on how WWE is going to deal with Theory as the holder of the briefcase. Now, last week on NXT TV, Theory made a surprise appearance by teasing a cash-in of his briefcase against Braun Breaker, the NXT champion, which is ridiculous because for months he's been going on and on and on and on about, I'm going to be the youngest undisputed WWE Universal Champion of all time. Meanwhile, he shows up on NXT and is basically challenging for a championship that means jack shit. Now it does. Then it did. Now it does. But why would you go and do that after all the months and television time wasted saying that you're going to cash in on Roman Reigns and then go and, I guess, sit there and say, you know what? I can't have that. I might as well go for the lowest of lowest prizes. Not really a good look there. However, after Breaker successfully retained the title at Halloween Havoc last Saturday against J.D. McDonough and Ilya Dragunov, Theory was nowhere to be seen. I thought that they were going to end with some shocking situation. I thought Theory was going to cash in, become the new champion. They just had Braun Breaker have a great match with Ilya and J.D. McDonough, and he retained the title, and that was it. And then they went off the air. No Austin Theory, no cash in after the trademark logo popped up, nothing. WrestleVotes told Give Me Sport that a never-seen-before idea has been discussed and is on the table for Theory, which would be for him the first guy to hold the briefcase for an entire fiscal year. There is an idea, says WrestleVotes, that he is the first guy to wait a full year, like the day of, or let's say the night of Money in the Bank next year. That's the storyline. Like, you have to cash this thing in 2.5 hours. You have to cash this thing in 90 minutes, that type of thing. I know that idea is on the table. WrestleVotes didn't say whether WWE would have him become the undisputed WWE Universal Champion or if he would fail his cash in when he cashed the briefcase in. Now, I like that idea because it's different. I like it because we haven't seen it. And by that time, it would probably give WWE enough time. I think right now is enough time, but it would give WWE enough time to cash in the briefcase if they want to, and Roman Reigns not be the champion. If they want to give Austin Theory a shot with the title, at that point, I cannot see Roman Reigns holding the championship all the way through WrestleMania and then through the spring going into the summer in July at Money in the Bank. I can't see it. First of all, I wouldn't even have a Money in the Bank pay-per-view. I'd move the match to WrestleMania and have a women's and men's match on both Saturday and Sunday, but that's just the way I would do it. But it looks like we're getting another Money in the Bank pay-per-view, and the Money in the Bank gimmick pay-per-view is not going anywhere, like the Elimination Chamber and Hell in a Cell. Hell in a Cell is finished. I'll talk about that in a second. But I like that idea. I think that's great. And it would give people a reason. Another big aspect to the show. Oh, shit, Austin Theory hasn't cashed in. It's a must-see thing. Who's he going to cash in on? When is he going to cash it in? Time's dwindling down. I like that story about him taking it in and getting to the deadline of, oh, shit, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know when I'm going to do this. That's something that opens WWE up to a lot of creativity. It's adventurous because they've never done it before. We've never seen it. It could be a big success. It could be a major flop. I don't know. But I like the idea just based on how WWE's never done it before. They've done literally everything else with the Money in the Bank, so why not? If that's on the table, I'm putting that in the list of things that I am seriously considering for Austin Theory going into the Money in the Bank pay-per-view in July or June, whenever the pay-per-view takes place. Now, Hell in a Cell is dead. WWE killed off Hell in a Cell, the pay-per-view, not the match. WWE's killed off Hell in a Cell. WrestleVotes told Give Me Sport that the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view is considered to be completely dead. Dead. The event was created in 2009, has been one of the fans' favorites as far as matches go, and getting rid of, or not the match wasn't created in 2009, the pay-per-view was, but WWE's getting rid of this themed event. The event is receiving a lot of criticism for the way Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard handle it. As when the show is on the calendar, WWE is seemingly forced to do a Hell in a Cell match, even if it's not really needed for a feud. I remember the one thing that really stood out to me was Seth Rollins and Bray Wyatt. You know how that ended up. Sasha Banks and Bayley, when they got their feud, right? When they got their main roster feud, the first match in Sasha Banks and Bayley's feud was inside a Hell in a Cell. Normally, that's the match that ends a fucking feud. Meanwhile, you're starting a feud off, and then you're going, they did things backwards. They went from a Hell in a Cell to a no DQ match to a regular match. They did everything ass backwards. And I don't understand how this is now being reported. And WrestleVote says the show itself, I think, is completely dead. That match, from what I understand, means a lot to Hunter just because of the classics he's had in there. Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. So they've been feuding for 6 weeks. They got to be in there now because the calendar says so, because it says October. That's not going to happen anymore. Now, the match is done for the pay-per-view. The match itself is going to still be a match, but the match for the pay-per-view is done. The concept of the pay-per-view, the gimmick pay-per-view is done. You're not going to see a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view with a name of a pay-per-view called Hell in a Cell. The match is going to go away. It's going to live on in WWE history. It's going to lay dormant for a couple of years, and it's going to come back when a feud needs it. When two guys who are battling in a long-winded feud need the match to settle their differences. Maybe you throw a dash of blood in there, and for Christ's sakes, get rid of the fucking red cage and go back and do the regular steel cage, the regular color of the Hell in a Cell. And if Triple H is changing this, I would not be surprised if he goes and changes all the other aspects that Vince and Bruce just didn't want to get rid of. And that's the point I was going to make before. Everything that we know was wrong was never addressed. Such a simple fucking request, such a simple thing that absolutely needed to be changed. Vince and Bruce did not acknowledge that it needed to be changed. They just left it. They just left it. And now Triple H is changing what is one of the biggest criticisms about the WWE pay-per-view calendar, the gimmick pay-per-views, these fucking matches that seemingly were ruined, and the luster and appeal and the essence of these matches ruined. He's getting rid of all of that and fixing it, and Vince and Bruce did nothing to fix it. It's unbelievable to me. The simplest things that did not get done are now getting done. I love it. Absolutely love it. Moving on. We got CM Punk. CM Punk. Apparently, there was a report that came out yesterday, and Jesse and I talked about this, and I didn't know what to believe because it sounded a little far-fetched and it sounded a little ridiculous. Nick Hausman of Wrestling Ink confirmed previous reports that AEW had not reached out to Punk following the All Out incident, and sources say that Punk was asked to stay quiet during the investigation, and he agreed. So, before I continue on here, a lot of reports came out that CM Punk was talking to AEW about a buyout of his contract. How can there be a buyout if AEW asked him and still is asking him, hasn't said a word, asking him to remain quiet? You cannot buy somebody's contract out if the other party, Punk, is not able to talk to the people in AEW who are going to facilitate this buyout. So the buyout stuff may be a thing, it may be an idea, but it's not really happening until the investigation is over, because Punk obviously needs to be in communication with AEW and Tony Khan. From the perspective of CM Punk's camp, the scrum did not seem like such a big deal, and things only escalated when Punk's locker room door was kicked in. Now, we read the report. Jesse and I documented this in depth, just as much as anybody else in the community. there were reports from Fightful saying that the door was not kicked in. Punk's side is saying the door was kicked in. Then everybody went back on it and said, no, it wasn't really kicked in. It was forced open. Larry the dog was there. Apparently, he was scared. Ace Steele's wife was there with a broken foot. She was watching the dog, so the dog didn't get injured. Ace Steele, instead of Larry, bit somebody, in this case, another human being, in Kenny Omega. You would think the dog being scared would bite a fucking human being. No, it was Ace Steele, another human being. But that's when CM Punk threw a punch because he felt threatened. It was a numbers game situation. It was Ace Steele and CM Punk, and obviously Ace Steele acted in defense of his wife, and then Punk had Larry there, and it was Brandon Cutler and Michael Nakazawa and Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, and they felt bombarded to a point where they felt like they had to defend themselves. But the door was kicked in, and then it was forced open. Now, all of a sudden, it's kicked in again. So the door was kicked in and accidentally hit Punk's dog, Larry, in the face. Punk reportedly took Larry to the veterinarian a few days later for a pre-scheduled appointment and was told that 2 of Larry's teeth were knocked loose and had to be removed. Now, I'm not saying that we need to see the veterinarian bills, but, I mean, hopefully that is determined in all of this, because right then and there, with the whole kicked in thing, when we already had read reports about the door not being kicked in, even Jesse said it last night. This sounds like complete fucking bullshit. Let me continue reading on. The story adds that Punk felt threatened, and the Illinois Castle Doctrine law were cited. The laws cite that you are allowed to use force in the event someone enters your place of dwelling. As of this writing, per Punk's camp, there has been no litigation against Punk. Ace Steele's wife, Lucy, was reportedly in the room and was not interviewed during the internal investigation. It was also reported that following the Adam Hangman Page comments on a May episode of Dynamite, there was distrust on Punk's end going into the world title match with Page at Double or Nothing. Punk was said to have been worried about things breaking down into a shoot fight. So that's what we discussed last night. People did not believe it, and people cited this as bullshit. Then all of a sudden, a new report comes out stating that multiple eyewitnesses say CM Punk's dog story is not true. I said this last night. Now, nobody is innocent in this thing. Every single person that is a part of this is guilty. Tony Khan is guilty for the reasons that I've mentioned previously. Adam Page is guilty. He's the least guilty out of everybody, but he's still guilty. Adam Page is the least guilty because he wasn't even in the building when all this happened, but whatever he said to Punk could have been died down with proper speaking to. Tony Khan speaking to Page and Punk when all of that happened between them. So Adam Page left the building. Tony Khan's at fault. CM Punk is absolutely at fault. He embarrassed the company. Adam Page, CM Punk, Tony Khan, the Young Bucks, Nick and Matt Jackson, right? Kenny Omega. Everybody is to blame here. When this story came out yesterday, I said this on the podcast, on the AEW stream, this really opens up a brand new fucking can of worms. It actually paints Punk in somewhat of a brighter light, because that's a big fucking deal. That's a big detail. First of all, why wasn't this uncovered? Why wasn't this known to the general public fucking 6 weeks ago, when all of the other dirt that came out of the scrum was being leaked to the dirt sheets and all the news was being reported about what had happened there, allegedly what had happened there? None of this came out until now. You would think that's a pretty big fucking piece of information. A dog got his fucking teeth knocked out with the door being kicked open because they all bum rushed Punk's locker room. Why would they leave that situation out? To me, out of all the things that we reported, that seems to be the biggest fucking piece of news so far. How could you fucking forget something like that happening? Now, all of a sudden, it's in the news. Now, on the night that the Elite were vignetted into the show last night about a return imminently to AEW television. Seriously? I don't know, man. I don't know. But I also said, if this was true, if this has any legs to it, I even said it last night, Punk If I'm Punk, I'm throwing fucking punches first at anybody. If my fucking pet is in harm's way and you kick the fucking door in and you knock his fucking teeth out, I don't blame CM Punk for fucking throwing a punch or two if that is the case. But was it the case? People say it's not. It's not true. Dave Meltzer noted on the Observer Radio that had gotten stories from both sides and the part about the dog had never been mentioned. Nothing was mentioned until last night. Last night when the Elite were given a vignette on TV. Kind of odd, right? Meltzer noted on the Observer that per multiple sources, the story is a fabrication. Meltzer later stated that the following on the message board in response to the members talking about the subject. He says, and I quote, "Anyway, multiple eyewitnesses say that dog story was a total fabrication. If it was true, the end of the investigation would have been that Punk would be the one staying. As previously reported, Punk is not expected back in AEW, and there are talks going on about a contract buyout, like I previously mentioned. Steele was let go and released from AEW last week, and the Elite returned in a backstage capacity last night. Don Callis, Kenny Omega, Matt Nick Jackson were all backstage last night, and they were given a vignette on TV to let everybody know that they are imminently returning to AEW television. I don't really understand this. I really don't. It's like a fucking clown show. Is Punk grasping at straws here, or Punk's party grasping at straws now because he knows he's in the wrong and there's no other way around it, so he's got to create this fabricated story because now the investigation is winding down and they're trying to find whatever they can to settle this thing, and what was found was more so worse for Punk than it was for the Elite. That's what I feel is going on here. And if this was true, if Larry's teeth got knocked out and they fucking kicked the door down, would they be coming back to television this soon? Some people say, well, they served enough punishment. I don't know, man. I don't know. If I'm Tony Khan, I'm not putting them back on TV at all. And I'm punishing them even further, even worse, if that story is true. But clearly, it's a fabrication because I can't see how that story is true and then they're coming back to television before fucking Full Gear. I can't see it. I don't understand it. So CM Punk's party fabricated this story, and multiple sources, says Meltzer, this is not true. It's a fucking clown show. It is a clown show. I don't know what else to say about all of this. I feel bad for everybody involved. I wish everybody would get on the same page. I wish they would put their differences aside. I wish that they would do it for the fans instead of their fucking egos. I get it. Jealousy ran rampant in AEW. I get it. I get that Punk came in and he was paid double the amount of everybody else, and they leaned upon him and they were straying away from the original team that created AEW. But this is something that needed to happen. Punk was only there to help. I don't understand why people just can't play and get along and make money, make tons of money working together. I'm not even saying you gotta like each other, but working together, making money and fucking doing what's right for the fans and doing what's right for the business. You tarnished your dream. You tarnished your vision because of jealousy. It's sad. And there's nobody to tell me otherwise. If they all put their differences aside and they make money off of this and turn this into a fucking storyline, there's nobody to tell me at all that Punk and Omega can't sell out a fucking stadium at TIAA Stadium for their first stadium show. But that won't happen now. And Punk is an embarrassment. And they embarrassed Tony Khan. The Elite embarrassed Tony Khan. CM Punk embarrassed Tony Khan. Tony Khan embarrassed himself. The company has a black eye because of this. It's going to take them a long time to recover from this. And they've done a very good job at moving on from this and making things known backstage. Leadership roles being assigned and meetings happening and lessening of the drama backstage. I don't get it. It's tiresome from a fan's point of view, which we also discussed last night. It's tiresome. More people are paying attention to the backstage shit and they're more interested in the backstage shit than what's going on and happening on television. Not a good look for AEW. It's not. Does Punk come back? We'll never know. We'll never know. I would like him to come back, but I can't see how he comes back. I can't. And that's why I said I feel like he's grasping at straws here because he knows he's at the end of his fucking rope. And finally, guys, MJF. MJF had a big part on AEW television last night. He had a great interview with Renee, and Stokely Hathaway presented himself. Stokely wanted the firm to take care of Jon Moxley to help MJF. MJF said, no, I want him at 100% because I got to prove I could beat him clean. Now, we know that's not going to happen. But then at the end of the night, Penta lost to Moxley. The firm attacked Moxley after his match with Penta. MJF conflicted about what to do. Kind of gave it away there, to me anyway, about what he wanted to do. He went away. He went to the back. He then came out as a babyface, tried to help Moxley, tried to stop the firm, and they ended up beating him up. They put him through a table. Marcy put him through a table, and they left him laying at the end of the show. Both Moxley and MJF were laid out. In his promos, he's done some heel things. He said some heel things, and he did so last night as well. While in other situations, he's been a babyface. Now, Wednesday's Dynamite was an example of the back and forth that his character is doing at this point. And at one point, he told Renee Paquette to shut up during a promo to promote his Full Gear match with Jon Moxley, Renee's husband. However, he got beat up by the firm at the end of the show, which indicates he is a full-blown babyface, although this could be part of all of what's going on, and it could be a swerve. With being a top star for the promotion, MJF has a lot of say in what he does on AEW programming, and Meltzer noted that MJF does not want to be a babyface. People are dying for a super over babyface. That's what the business is really missing, that babyface that gets that kind of reaction. And if you got one, then don't turn him heel. I know he doesn't want to be a babyface. I know he wants to be a heel. Meltzer later added, again, the time to turn him heel is the time to turn him heel, not when you want to do it. Not like Ric Flair, he would turn babyface, get super over, draw ratings, and then Ric Flair would sit there and go, I don't want to be a babyface, turn me heel. It was a mistake so many times. This is why I said last night that I do believe that the devil is wearing sheep's clothing right now. He is disguising himself as one of the good guys, and come Full Gear, all of what you saw last night and the good guy act and him winning clean and him not cheating to win and wanting to prove William Regal one way, it's all going to blow up in everybody's face because MJF at the end of the night and then following Wednesday on Dynamite when he's crowned the world champion and he cuts that first promo, which is going to be unbelievable, he's going to go revert back to the old MJF. What you saw last night was a calculated plan. He took one for the team. He took the bullet. They beat the shit out of him. They made it believable. Otherwise, you wouldn't believe it. They made it believable, and he's going to reveal himself as the devil at Full Gear. And everybody's going to be played for a fool. That's the only way this works out. What does MJF do best? MJF is best as a heel. What does MJF need to be right now? MJF needs to be a heel. AEW does not have anybody at the level of MJF to play a heel. He is the absolute perfect protagonist to a babyface. Why would you take that away from the company? The company is in a better position to build a hot babyface with somebody else to go against MJF's villain. Why would you ruin that? The villain in pro wrestling is such an absolute commodity. To me, you need a villain. It's easy to build a babyface and get babyface momentum if you take the proper steps. A villain like MJF does not come around all that often. A villain like MJF that generates heat like that does not come around all that often. He says he's a generational talent. It is an absolute fucking rarity to find somebody at this age this good to get the fucking heartstrings of the fans and play with the fans' emotions to believe in everything that he does. Why would you take that and make him a babyface? I don't understand that logic. I do think at the end of the day, he is going to have ultimate say. I do think at the end of the day, Tony Khan is going to say, you know what, you're right. And this is what you're seeing. They maybe toyed with it. They maybe wanted to experiment with it. He tried it. He doesn't like it. And this is what they're doing to correct that mistake before they actually go and do and mess the entire fucking character up. Which I don't think it's going to be messed up completely. He's going to play it and he's going to do great. And everybody loves it. But I don't think you need to put him in a 100% babyface role. I think heel is the best way for him to go. Guys, that's all I got. Let me know what you think down below. More extra to come when the news breaks. I appreciate you. Hit that thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for notifications. And please make sure you guys follow me on social media for all the latest news at JdfromNY206. That's Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Cameo. Guys, I will see you all Friday night after SmackDown. No, it's going to be a busy sports night on Friday night, but I will be live after SmackDown is over. So until then, guys, enjoy Thursdays, and I will see you live after SmackDown right here on OTS.